And it's the only time I ever saw my dad cry. I was a child and I came in from school, and me and my brother came in from school. I'm a year and 2 months older than my next brother, so we were coming home from school together. And my mother, it was only 4:30. My mother was running around like a headless chicken. And I said, "What's wrong? Get up to bed, get up to bed, get up to bed." My younger brothers and sisters, they were already in. And I said, "Mum, it's only 4:30. Get up to bed," she said. And, like, we were waiting till Batman was on television at 5 o'clock. Anyway, we went up the stairs, and our staircase used to go up one flight and you come onto a landing, and then there was another 3 or 4 stairs. So we sat on them 3 or 4 stairs, and we're looking down through the banisters, and I'm holding my brother. My dad came in from work at 6 o'clock, and I saw my mum talking to him in the hall, and then I saw my dad hold his head in his hands. And in every boy's eyes, his dad is the toughest man in the world. Every boy looks at his father as the toughest man in the world. So in my eyes, my dad was the toughest man in the world. And when I saw him hold his head in his hands and cry, I'd never saw him cry before. And I got an awful fright. I'm holding my brother, I'm cradling my brother in my arms. We're looking down through the banisters. And I saw him crying, and I got an awful fright. But what I didn't realise was that his daddy was after dying. My granddad was after dying. My mum had had a call to say that my dad's dad had died. And I got an awful fright. We're only young boys. And years later, when I got into trouble, and I was in court, and I was found guilty, and I was remanded, and I looked up into the balcony, and my dad was standing in the balcony. And I saw him put his head in his hands again. I felt sick. I felt sick like this. You can't put into words that me getting found guilty and getting sent to prison had the same effect on my dad as his daddy dying. Because there's only 2 times in my life I'd ever seen him cry. And even now I feel ashamed.
I think it takes a real man to admit it, if you think about it, because we all go through a lot of things. I've done some things in my life as well in the past, which I definitely, big time, I do regret those things. And but what it basically makes us a real person, a real man, when you do face the real world out there, people's people, and you actually admit it. And I think it's not really an easy thing if you think about it. So there is no shame when you admit that you've done something wrong. And I really admire Joe for being honest about these things. The problem with us is we're just not honest to ourselves. And because we're not honest to ourselves, we can't be honest to our parents, we can't be honest to our society, we can't be honest to our community. So we must be honest. Honesty is the best policy. Joe, I really rate you for that.
Thank you. When I came out of prison, I contacted Mike. He was getting ready to fight an Irish fighter called Kevin McBride. And I contacted Mike to see if I could get onto the undercard. I didn't ask him for any money. I could have asked Mike for money. I needed the money, but I wouldn't go cap in hand to anybody. And I thought, well, the only thing I was really good at was fighting. I got myself fit when I was in prison. And Mike said, yeah, he'd get me on the undercard. I spoke to Shelley Finkel, who was his manager, and they said, yeah, they'd get me on the undercard. But I didn't want to go to America and fight and embarrass myself. So I thought I'd have a warm-up fight in Ireland, because if there was anything left at 38 years of age, the Irish would tell me. They wouldn't hold back. If it was rubbish, if I had nothing left to offer, they'd tell me the truth. So I had a warm-up fight in Ireland. I fought a fighter called Mark Williams. And it was a good fight. A friend of mine, but we had a good fight. And I won. I won in the 5th round. Mark dislocated his shoulder, and the fight had to be stopped. But I asked different trainers that were in attendance. Brendan Ingle was in attendance. John Breen, my old pro trainer, and Paul McCulloch, my old pro trainer. And I asked them, how did I look? And they said I looked okay. They said that my hand speed was still good. My reflexes had sort of slowed down a little bit, 38 years old. But they said I looked okay. And the general public that were there, the fight fans, I had a good response from them. So then I contacted Mike. I said, I've had a warm-up fight. I feel good. And I'll fight on your undercard if you can arrange that. And he said, it's arranged. At that stage, then I had the to prepare and get ready to go to fight in America. So I had a sparring session with my best friend, who we've been friends since we were like 12, 13 years old, ex-light heavyweight champion, a guy called Steve Dawson. And I remember leaving his house. It was funny. I stayed in his house, and we're going out sparring. And his little boy Tristan, he said, "He's boxing today." And I said, "Yeah, me and your dad are going to box." And he said, "Who's the toughest?" And I said to Tristan, I said, "Your dad's the toughest man on the planet." And we went sparring, had the headgear on, the big gloves. It wasn't even a good punchy bender. I ducked into an uppercut and he caught me at the side of the eye, underneath the head guard, and he split my eye. I got 3 stitches in the eye. But I'd been cut before. I've had a lot of stitches in my face. But at 38 years old, I felt the blood trickling down my face from a punch that wasn't even a good punch. And I just knew then that it was over. I just thought, no, this isn't for me anymore. And I remember going to the hospital, getting the stitches, and then going back to Steve's house. And his little boy opened the door, Tristan, 8 years old, and he looked, and my eye had swollen up, and I got the stitches in my eye. And he looked, and he says, "Oh, what happened to you?" I said, "Oh, yeah, Daddy caught me when we were boxing." And he looked at me and he says, "Oh, you said he was the toughest man in the world." And I just thought, insult to injury, you know, but that was it then. But I'd had a comeback fight, and I'd won, and I was back on the map as Joe Egan the boxer rather than Joe Egan the convict, and I felt good about myself again.
Very inspiring. Now, Joe, we've only got like a few minutes left, but before you go, if there is one successful moment that you could relive in your life, right? If you have to choose one moment only, which moment it would be and why?
Winning the Irish titles were great, but the best win of my boxing career, I fought a guy called Bruce Seldon, who went on to win the world heavyweight title, and I boxed him in Atlantic City. And there was 10 great world champions in attendance: Jake LaMotta, Rocky Graziano, Joe Frazier, Jersey Joe Walcott, just to mention a few. Anyway, he was the star, the Atlantic City Express, and he went on to win the world heavyweight title. So he had the potential then, and he achieved greatness. And it was a great honour to share the ring with him. But the first round I went out and I got hammered. I went back to my corner, and my cornermen, Mickey Hawkins and Jerry Hanna, they said, "We're going to retire you on the stool." And I said, "I'm not quitting on my stool." And I went out for round 2. And I went on to win the fight. I won on points. It was a fantastic win. And it was the best win of my career. But what I didn't realise was, while the fight was going on, Jake LaMotta, the Raging Bull, who they made the movie about, was standing outside the ring, on the outside of the ring. It was like a throwback to his fight. He was fighting with me. And it was a war. And he was obviously enjoying it, the same as everybody. I wasn't particularly enjoying it. I was getting hurt, but afterwards I enjoyed it. You know, the success. After the fight, when I'm brought to the ambulance because I have to go to hospital, I'm all swollen, I'm bruised, and I'm battered. Even though I'd won, I was still hurt and injured. And I'm in the back of the ambulance, and I'm feeling sorry for myself with Pinder because I was in such agony. But the Raging Bull, Jake LaMotta, he tripped and he hurt his arm and he cut his eye while my fight was going on. I wasn't aware of what was going on outside the ropes. I had enough problems inside the ropes. But he was brought to the back of the ambulance, and he looked at me and he goes, "The heavyweight, great fight, kid." And it was the best anaesthetic I've ever had. The Raging Bull, Jake LaMotta, complimented me on a fight, and the pain was just gone. And I was on top of the world. So if I could relive that moment, that would be the moment I would relive.
That's great. Now, there are a few more moments as well. Hollywood, Bollywood, right? You obviously, I mean, a lot of the people out there as well, just to let you know, Joe Egan, he's worked in the Hollywood films as well. Sherlock Holmes 2. That's, yep, and 1 as well. And also in the Bollywood as well with Shah Rukh Khan. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I did Cass, the movie Cass Pennant. It's his life story, and I got a part in that playing the landlord of the pub, and I got a taste for the acting. And I got a part then in Sherlock Holmes, which was amazing. I was to play a character called McMurdo. I was to fight Robert Downey Jr. But then Guy Ritchie took a shine to me, and he didn't want me getting beaten up. Even in film, you know, you still got your image to protect as such. And I said, "I don't mind. I'm not egotistical. I don't mind." But he said no, and he gave me a scene in the film, and I get called my own name. I got called Big Joe by Robert Downey Jr., an Academy Award-winning actor, calling me by my own name in a Warner Brothers movie directed by Guy Ritchie. Like, what a compliment, what an honour. And then to get called back and booked to star in, you know, to be in part 2. And I've worked alongside Jude Law, Robert Downey Jr. again, but Stephen Fry. It was very humbling. And I'm loving it. I've been in about 25 films. Only small parts, but they're getting bigger as I get more experience. And then I got to work with Shah Rukh Khan in a Bollywood film called Ra 1. And it was amazing. I was treated like royalty, you know, and if I could break into the Bollywood industry, that would be great. I would love that. But he was such a lovely person as well. I've been very fortunate that the directors and the stars that I've worked with have all been lovely. And I'm really enjoying it. And like I say, it's making my mum and dad and my friends very proud again. So I'm loving life.
We're really proud of you as well, Joe. I mean, it's really, really great. It's a great compliment as well. And I must actually mention that it's a big thank you to Kumel Heer especially. I mean, the toughest Asian guy on the planet, you know, as you actually call him as well.
The strongest.
He is the strongest. He is absolutely amazing. The only thing with him is actually that he is a bit shy. I've already invited him on the show as well. So Kumel, there you go. And he is, I mean, he's just absolutely a brilliant lad as well. He's like a brother to me.
Good friend of mine, and I've trained with him a few times. I'm nowhere near as strong as what he is. People look at me and they think the size of me must be as strong as an ox. I'm reasonably strong, but Kumel is unbelievably strong. He's a powerhouse of a man. And the strength, people say your strength comes from within. So he's got plenty of strength. He can lift weights that 2 men wouldn't lift. And he does it with ease. He's a very strong young man.
It is, and I must say actually runs in the family as well. A big hello going out to the whole Heer family out there as well. Kumel Heer Paji, Sat Sri Akal Twanu, Sare Jede Sade Pop Heer Hor, Jinne Sade Heere, all of you guys, you're absolutely brilliant and great, and you know, and they do support me as well. Oh, yeah. I must say, they are very... Exactly, this is how we've met as well, and they're very supportive. So it is really good. Also another mention as well, D Singh, thank you very much for all your support. Daminder Kaur, thank you very much for your email and for your kind words as well. Really appreciate it. Davinder Sidhu, thank you very much for your love and support as well. And hopefully through Ju, I mean, we will have obviously Mike Tyson very soon on the show as well, and probably some other big names as well. Joe is obviously close to like the likes of even Wayne Rooney and all the other big names as well. Joe, last thing I want to ask you, what else is there to achieve?
Well, when people ask me for my autograph, I always sign happiness, Joe Egan, because I think it's a very important word. You can have all the respect in the world and all the money in the world, and they're nice things to have, but happiness is the most important thing in the world. And I just want to be happy for the rest of my life, and I hope it's a long life, because I'm really enjoying myself.
Wow.
You know, so just to be even happier than what I am now. So there you go.
That's fantastic. Joe, once again, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's a pleasure.
Linda.
We will call you obviously again.
Thank you.
And it's really good. I think it's really actually great to even shake hand with Big Joe Egan. So it is really a pleasure. Thank you very much. So that was Big Joe Egan. There you go, the toughest white man on the planet. Please make sure you get the book. It's an amazing, excellent book. You can also get in touch with me as well. Anything you need to know about Joe, if you wish to get in touch with him, then opinder@sangattelevision.org. And anything you wish to say, if any of you is out there, you do feel that around you, surround you, कोई भी प्रॉब्लम हैगी आ कम्युनिटी दे विच घरां दे विच जिहड़ियां कि प्रॉब्लम्स तुहानूं लगदा कि असीं अगे लैके आईए इहो जे शोज़ दे विच, प्लीज़ do get in touch with us. You can also join me on the Facebook, which is under Opinder Randhawa. Opinder Randhawa ਵੱਲੋਂ ਅਗਲੀ ਵਾਰ ਤੱਕ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ. Look after yourself, look after all the people around you. ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ.